forget to like, share, and subscribe. If y'all don't pick my sign up. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So, what's eating you? Hello, everyone. Don't pay attention to that. I'm in an art room today. So, those of you who don't know me, I do reaction videos. I'm mostly in the black mukbang sector, but sometimes I do reactions on celebrities or hot topics, whatever's happening out in the world that I find to be interesting. I will bring it over to my channel and do a reaction. So I call myself Psychology Eats because I have been in the field of mental health for over 30 years. I'm a clinician. I do therapies. I teach psychology at a few local colleges where I live. And so psychology has been part of my life for a very, very, very long time. Not only professionally, but even I remember as a kid, I would be very interested in other people's business and other people, and what people were doing and how people lived and how they function. I've just always been that way. And so when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be in my life, it didn't come together. It didn't come together like quickly because I had never known anybody that I didn't know about mental health or psychology growing up. I didn't have any psychologists or mental health people in my family. So I wasn't even aware that it was a possibility, right? Me being somebody who liked to help people, like to talk to people, a good listener. I didn't know that I could make a real career out of that. And so years later, many years later, and through my own ups and downs in life, I came to where I am today in this field. And so I do reactions. So I want to do a reaction to Lips. Lips is a content creator. If you don't know his channel, you probably do. If you know me, you probably know him. Not that I'm as big as his channel. I'm not, but people who follow me know him. So he has a channel, and he talked about he's in this first story time, he's talking about being called the F word. He is openly gay man. He's married, high production. He's married, and so he's telling us and talking to his audience about his struggles with understanding who he was as a gay man, a gay person. So I took some notes, and I'm going to kind of point out some things that I find to be interesting, especially in our world being black and what it means to be gay in the black community, in black families, how kids are treated when they come out. But first, I want to rewind back. First of all, make sure you go and watch the video, his video when he talks about this process. I pointed up because I'm going to put a picture. I'll put a picture up of what that video is. So he talked about initially that he didn't give a lot of detail, but he talked about being molested at 5 years old. And it sounds like, he was molested by a male. And it sounds like it was somebody within the family unit, whether it be a friend or a actual biological family member. It sounds like he was molested by somebody within the family system, which is quite common when it comes to when we talk about molestation, oftentimes, a high percentage of time, it is not a stranger. It is somebody molesting children within the family system. And oftentimes, in not only the black community, but in other cultures also, for whatever reason, that person is often protected. Like it's a sense of the person that does the molestation because the family doesn't want to be embarrassed. And so oftentimes that family member or friend or whatever is low key protected. So he talked about that trauma. And I want to point out that that is trauma. That is trauma. And so that trauma stays with a child from the point of the molestation all the way through the life cycle. And oftentimes people cope with it however they cope with it. But that happened to him. He didn't give a lot of detail, but we don't need a lot of detail in order to understand how that affected his life in a negative way. And so some people will say, oh, that's why he's gay. He was molested. Well, statistically, when we talk and look at the research, that's not true. That you don't become a gay. A high percentage of people who identify as being gay were not molested. Were not molested. And so being molested doesn't automatically or make you gay because you were molested. It is definitely trauma. It's trauma, but it doesn't make you, according to the research, it doesn't make you be gay. So I would say that's not the reason. If people are looking like, oh, that's why, he's gay. Next, that is not in most cases. So he did talk about that. And he also said what I thought was interesting is that he's seen this person throughout his life. I'm not even sure if this person is still a part of his life in some way. I remember Oprah, who was also molested. Now, see, Oprah was molested. She's not gay. So Oprah talked about being molested and that her molester was part of the family. And that over the years, she talked about how she used to serve her molester dinner. Like he would come over to the house, she would make his plate. And so I think that perception for a lot of people is, oh, well, she wasn't really molested. That didn't hurt her. She's still cool with him. And I think that's a misconception. That is definitely a misconception. Oftentimes in our family units. But Lips talked about as he grew up feeling different and being treated differently. My assumption is that maybe he was like feminine. And so then, people pick up on that, not only in our family system, but, kids. And then that's when the F word started. And that's when he was called that. And he talked about not really even understanding what that meant. What are they talking about? He's like, I'm just being myself. And for whatever reason, being himself was negative. And so you got to think about how did that impact him as a person? How does that impact our children who are having these feelings? How does that impact how they feel about themselves? He talked about an interesting story. He didn't get into detail, and I hope he will. He talked about wanting the molestation to stop. So it sounds like it went on for a while. And as a result, as in a child's mind, in order for it to stop, He burned down his family's home. So then, as a result of that, I'm sure there was another, you know, now he's crazy. Now, not only is he a F word, now he's crazy. He done burnt the whole house down. But in his mind, if I burn this house down, then maybe we'll move. Maybe I'm gonna get away from this person, and I don't have to deal with this anymore. That's my assumption, not knowing more details about that. Um, he talked about being suicidal, which is very common. And I don't know the rate myself. I don't know the rate of suicide among gay people who are identified as gay, or I don't know that number, but I know it's a significant amount of kids who commit suicide. Also, a lot of kids who identify as being gay also are homeless. Quite a large number of them become homeless because the family will say you this is not acceptable, or the name calling, or just the belittling, and they just can't take it anymore, and they end up, leaving the family. So it was a lot of good information, I think, for kids today. I think from when Lips came out, or his process, I would like to believe that 30 years later, kids of today in 2022, I'm not saying they have it easier, but there's more open dialogue about it. Um, Even though within family systems, although we can say, because I do this in my college class, because I teach. Okay, guys, I'm back. I had to pause the video. Somebody came in the room. But in conclusion, I was saying that in my college classes, I talk about acceptance. And in most cases, I'll take like a little survey in the classroom, and I ask them, how do you feel about, LGBTQ community? Are you accepting? Those types of questions. And 95% of the class, 99% of the class will say, yes, these are usually the age range between 17, 25, let's say. And so within that generation, they're like, absolutely, I accept it. And then the next question I ask, and I'll say, how does your family feel about it? Grandma, aunties, uncles, generations before you, how do they feel? Could you come home and say, I'm gay? I love the same sex person, gender, whatever. And 90% of those students say, no, I can't. I couldn't come home. There's always, a few who say, yeah, my family is open. But the larger majority of students consistently say that that wouldn't be accepted in my family. And so, although I think among their peer group, they can be more open, you still have to deal with that family system. And oftentimes, that's where that real hurt comes in, when it's your family that's bullying you, belittling you, putting you down. And so we know we continue to still have a long way to go. And I've worked with parents who were trying to accept or understand that their child was gay. And my question is, like, do you want your kid to be alive? Like, your kid is struggling. And sometimes I feel like they can deal with the world. Like, okay, you calling me these names, da, da, da. Like, they find a way, they can be resilient in that. But when it's your family that is doing the bullying, it's a different kind of hurt. It's a different kind of trauma. So I'm looking forward. Liv said he's going to do like a part 2. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think this was such a good message for our young people who are struggling with understanding who they are. I mean, I think it's a general good message for people to also understand too that you can't make someone gay. People generally are not gay because they have been molested. So that is kind of a misnomer. Like that's it's I always try to debunk that based on what we know, what people who are gay have shared and said, no, I was never molested. This is just how I've been and how I felt, most of my life. So I'm going to end the video there. Thank you guys for listening. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.